For years, we bought a lie. People said Trae Young was some scary villain who owned New York. That myth just died. He tried to shade Jalen Brunson by ripping a Knicks jersey on stage. The shirt won. He looked embarrassed in front of millions. Now the biggest legends in basketball history are lining up to speak out. And wait until you hear what Isaiah Thomas and Shaq said about his crumbling career. Your jaw will drop. Trae Young wrecked his own name the moment he let a piece of clothing humiliate him in New York. Everyone remembers the Knicks winning it all. The whole city went crazy. Brunson got murals all over Manhattan. Fans treated him like a real legend. So why did Trae think he could show up at the Javits Center like he still owned the place? He posted cheesy Instagram stories on the way there, blasting Rey Mysterio's music, thinking he was about to pull off some big villain moment. He walked out and the crowd booed him hard. He just smiled like he loved it. Then he pulled out a Brunson jersey and tried to rip it in half to look tough. It would not tear. The announcer kept yelling that he was ripping it apart. But really, it was just a grown man sweating and struggling with a normal Nike jersey for 30 whole seconds.
He's ripping it asunder! He's ripping it asunder!
Here's the problem.
Can't get through it.
You can't do it.
He can't do it.
He kept slipping around, his face turned red. He was losing a fight to a shirt in front of thousands of people who already hated him. Finally, he gave up. He tossed a perfectly good jersey into the crowd, made a little heart sign, and walked off while everyone laughed. Twitter did not wait. Fans roasted him before he even reached his car. Everyone remembered that his tough guy reputation was built on one old playoff series against a beat-up Knicks team years ago. People said the only thing that got torn that night was his own dignity. One person just called him a dork. To make it worse, Trae tried to save face. He tweeted he was just trolling and that he was happy for his Knicks friends. Nobody believed him. Truth is, Brunson's jersey has more championship history than Trae's whole career. Trae got traded mid-season, played 15 games for a bad Wizards team, and still has 0 rings. The funniest part? Old school legends were watching this and feeling embarrassed for him. Look, trash talk is part of the game. Larry Bird built a whole career on it, but there is a big difference. Bird always backed up his words with rings. Trae could not even rip a jersey. Speaking of Bird, word is he was disgusted watching that clip. Sources close to his team say he did not hold back. He basically said he used to tell defenders exactly how he would score on them, then do it, no need to rip up anyone's clothes. He said if you have to try that hard for New York's attention, you already lost. And this is a guy Michael Jordan called the greatest trash talker ever because he never needed a gimmick to break someone. Remember the 1986 three-point contest? Bird walked into the locker room, looked at Craig Hodges, Dale Ellis, and Trent Tucker, and asked who was fighting for second place. Then he won it without even taking off his warm-up jacket. That is real confidence, the kind Trae was faking. Bird also spent years torturing the Knicks right inside Madison Square Garden. He once dropped 35 points and grabbed 10 rebounds while yelling at their head coach the whole game. He hit 4 straight shots on Dennis Rodman, then turned and told the Pistons coach to put someone else on him, before dropping 60. He even told the Mavericks bench exactly what play he was about to run, then hit the shot anyway. That is real trash talk. Bird backed his up with rings. Trae just brought a short to a fight. And if you think Bird's words were harsh, wait for the next legend, because things are about to get a lot more brutal. We are talking about a Hall of Famer so scary that opponents pretended not to speak English just to avoid him. Kevin Garnett saw the clip and lost it on his podcast. He said he could not believe a grown NBA player was getting beat by a jersey. Back in his day, he said if you disrespected a man's jersey, you had to back it up on the court. He called this generation lost and said Trae looked weak, faking an aura he does not have. This is a guy who never needed a fan convention stunt to break his opponents mentally. Garnett spent 15 years talking trash on the floor during real games that actually mattered. He's the same guy who made Steven Adams pretend he could not speak English just to escape him. KG crossed every line back then, saying wild things about opponents, even grabbing a player by the throat once. So KG is not saying skip the trash talk. He's saying do not look foolish while doing it and make sure you can back it up. Now here's the funniest twist. Paul Pierce roasted Trae before he could even leave the building. On ESPN with Stephen A. Smith, Pierce said he had already done this exact thing better. He said he literally stomped on a Brunson jersey back in 2024 and told everyone the Knicks would never win. He said even that jersey has more power than Trae right now, and he could barely say it without laughing. You know your reputation is done when a Hall of Famer who also hates the Knicks cannot even defend you. The irony is huge because Pierce knows exactly how strong that Brunson jersey curse is. Back in May 2024, after Indiana knocked the Knicks out, Pierce filmed himself stomping on a Brunson jersey and told fans to get lost. He doubled down again in April 2026, joking we would see Jesus walk down Crenshaw before the Knicks ever won it all.
We're going to see Jesus walk down Crenshaw. Like, come on, the Knicks aren't winning nothing, bro.
Pierce swore he'd rather be dead than see the Knicks win a title. Then karma hit hard. On June 14, 2026, Brunson dropped 45 points and won the championship. Pierce had to publicly apologize to the whole city. Just 1 month later, Trae tried the same stunt. But there is a big difference. Pierce actually backed up his disrespect. Trae just got embarrassed. And it gets worse because even his own supporters are turning on him now. Gilbert Arenas used to be Trae's biggest defender online. Now he's jumping ship after watching that jersey moment. Gil said on his show that Brunson didn't even need to fight back, that Trae just looked bad. When your own hype man thinks you look pathetic, that says everything. Gil used to go to war for Trae in every comment section. He even said Team USA was wrong for leaving Trae off the roster. But Gil also knows what it's like to throw away a great career overnight. He was Agent Zero once, dropping 30 points a night at his peak. Then the 2010 gun situation happened, and his career fell apart. He played only 73 games in his last 4 seasons, and never got close to a finals. Gil knows what it feels like to waste your prime. So when he looks at Trae now, he sees a younger version of himself, ruining his name over a PR stunt instead of just playing ball. And it didn't stop there. This whole mess kicked off a chain reaction way bigger than TikTok jokes because Charles Barkley jumped in fast. On a sports radio segment, Chuck said this was just embarrassing for the kid. He pointed out that Brunson is a first-team All-NBA player carrying all of New York, while Trae is out here fighting shirts. Chuck told him to focus on winning games for the Wizards before starting fights with New York's Kings. You know you've hit rock bottom when Chuck is lecturing you about awareness. The irony is wild because Chuck knows exactly what it's like to talk big without a ring. He knows stats mean nothing if your team keeps losing. Yet here's Trae acting up while stuck on a Wizards team nowhere near the playoffs. This is a guy who just signed a $212 million deal after a season where his body broke down and he only played 15 games, and he still thought he had the right to start a rivalry with a team running the whole city. But wait, because a 6-time champion jumped in next, and he used this moment to expose Trae's biggest flaw. Scottie Pippen saw the clip and went off. Insiders say Pippen basically said it's easy to talk big and tear jerseys when you never play real defense. He said Brunson earns respect by outworking everyone, while Trae is just chasing attention because his game isn't making headlines anymore. Of course Pippen took this personally. He spent years being called Robin next to Michael Jordan, and he knows real disrespect. Pippen was underpaid while winning back-to-back three-peats. Trae is the opposite. Overpaid with 0 rings, and his trade value is starting to look like a bust. Pippen got pennies for real dominance. Trae is getting paid big for empty promises. But here's the wildest part. The one man Pippen hated most just stepped up to call Trae a fraud. Isaiah Thomas heard about this and tore into him because Isaiah knows what a real villain looks like. The Detroit Bad Boys legend basically said Trae is treating the game like a TikTok trend. He said if you can't even rip a jersey, you would not have survived a single second in his era's physical defense. Let that sink in. This is the godfather of the Detroit Bad Boys, the team that built its whole identity around toughness. You can't fake that villain energy at a fan convention. Isaiah was the same height as Trae, but he won back-to-back titles and a finals MVP through pure grit and physical dominance. Isaiah knows better than anyone how one bad moment on camera can follow you forever. Everyone remembers him walking off in 1991 without shaking hands with the Bulls. He still says today that one petty choice cost him a dream team spot and haunted his reputation for decades.
Looking back in terms of what has happened, you know, had I had a chance to do it all over again, we should have took the higher road.
So now Isaiah watches Trae play 15 games for a bad Wizards team, failed to rip a shirt, then go online claiming he was just trolling. Real villains break you on the court, now with corny stunts. Getting called soft by the meanest small guard in NBA history is rough, but it gets worse. Shaquille O'Neal turned inside the NBA into a full roast session over this. Shaq didn't care about stats. He leaned into the mic and said, if you're gonna act tough in New York, you better actually be tough. You can't act like Hulk Hogan and then get beat by a piece of fabric. It's even funnier because Trae barely weighs 160 pounds. Draymond Green reacted too, and he's probably celebrating right now, because he called this years ago. Back in January 2023, Draymond told Taylor Rooks that Trae had convinced himself he needed to be basketball's villain, and that this was the wrong move because nobody actually enjoys being hated.
And I personally think Trae has in his mind, he's taken on this villain role. And he's bought into it and he has dove headfirst in.
Trae got defensive right away, posting on Instagram that he disagreed with how Draymond saw his situation. Fast forward 3 years, and here we are, proving Draymond right all along. The key thing people forget, Draymond has 4 rings backing up everything he says. Sure, his own villain era got messy too, the flagrant foul that cost the Warriors a championship in 2016, punching Jordan Poole in practice, getting suspended in 2024, but every one of those moments happened while he was actually competing to win, not at some fan meet and greet. You have to wonder, if Trae had ignored the noise and focused on his game instead of playing a character, would the Hawks have even traded him away? Maybe he'd have a ring by now instead of being a meme. Having a 4-time champion basically confirm your downfall is bad enough. But then Reggie Miller answered the chat, and that made it so much worse. Reggie once named Trae his official successor back in 2021, saying Trae had the same mentality to handle 20,000 fans screaming at Madison Square Garden. But Reggie also said something Trae clearly ignored, that real villain status is given to you by the crowd during big games, not something you put on like a costume at a convention. Reggie said there's a huge difference between being a legendary villain and just being annoying. When he did the choke sign at the Garden, he backed it up with clutch buckets. He said Trae copied the blueprint but forgot the most important part, actually winning. Right now, Trae Young's reputation is in the trash. He wanted to be New York's ultimate villain, but he couldn't even rip a shirt. And now the whole Hall of Fame is calling him a fraud. So here's the real question. Is his image gone for good, or can he still turn this around? What do you think?